Hello, welcome back for another video on ARK Survival Ascended. There are hundreds of creature mods in the game right now, so I made it my mission to discover the top 50 best creature mods you can download today. All of these mods are free and can be played cross-platform. We've got a lot to showcase, so without further ado, let's get straight into it. Kicking off the video, we have the Majungasaurus from Lazuli Live, a medium-sized theropod and one I've been meaning to check out for a very long time. It comes in 3 different variants, a regular variant, an aberrant variant, and the blighted variant, which are slightly stronger, faster, and larger than the regular variant. The Majungasaurus has an array of attacks at its disposal. Its bite attack will deal more damage over time the lower the target's health gets, and receiving the rapid regeneration buff upon biting or consuming a carcass, giving it health and stamina regeneration for 20 seconds, the same as the Argentavis. Also having a secondary bite that applies the infested debuff to targets, it can go into 2 stances. The combat mode, which is standard, and the tracking mode where the Majungasaurus moves faster, consumes less stamina, and deals less damage. Any creatures affected by the infested debuff can be tracked and will be visible on the map. The mod also adds a new type of ammo to the long neck rifle, the tracking dart, which will also apply the infested debuff and can track targets the same way as the Majungasaurus secondary bite. The blighted variant on extinction deals 2 times damage to corrupted creatures and has a roar that grants nearby allies a 50% increased damage to corrupted, so works very similarly to the Tyrannodominator as a support dino. Plus it also has its own unique saddle. It's such a cool dino mod and I highly recommend checking it out. Up next is the Skyshroud Drakara from Blue Suko, which will add the majestic beast to your game, and I'm a big fan of this creature. It is an absolute beauty. They come in 5 different variants. The dwarf, which as expected is a smaller variant, the common, an Arctic, a Bloodfang, a beautiful aberrant variant, and finally an alpha variant, which can be killed for a bit of loot and some rare chibis and cosmetics. Once tamed, you will have yourself a very nice traveling mount, which does not require a saddle to ride, having a pretty quick base flying speed with the player able to wield their weapons when mounted. All variants have primary, secondary, and tertiary attacks that consist of a regular bite, triple bites, and also a special attack when pressing the crouch key, and depending on the variant of the Drakara, will inflict different status effects to targets. For example, most of the regular Drakaras will inflict bleed with their primary attacks, making them the Filer of the Skies. And surprisingly, they do also have pack buffs. It's a really cool creature mod, and I highly recommend checking it out. ClaysPachyRhino from the Clay Art is a great PachyRhino TLC you'll be wanting to try. It does everything the vanilla one can do but better, and has been given a lovely makeover. Able to dish out a potent melee attack that deals a good amount of torpor on impact, but does also deal quite a lot of health damage too, so pick your victims wisely. It has its own mini charged headbutt attack that can temporarily stun targets. This attack is the better one to use when knocking out creatures, as it deals more torpor over health damage, and just like the vanilla PachyRhino, it has a rage mode which works like the rare flower where most creatures will attack it regardless of temperament, and also its calm mode where anything below the size of an Allosaurus will not attack it for a short duration of time. This is the perfect PachyRhino mod for all those PachyRhino lovers out there. The Hatzegopteryx from Ziphius is a large flyer around the size of a Quetzal and looks absolutely beautiful. It can be equipped with 3 different saddles, a standard saddle, a desert saddle, and an extinction saddle. These saddles do also have a passenger seat for your friends. This powerful flyer can pick up small to large creatures in its beak and carry them to a specific location, or if it's feeling rather peckish, crunching down on smaller prey and eating them whole, which gives it a healing buff similar to the Argentavis. More attacks include a deadly primary bite, a ranged vomit attack that slows targets, and a terrifying roar which can be used to locate any nearby alpha predators. This has got to be one of my favorite flyer mods in the game. The Meraxes from Big Owl is a medium to large sized theropod with similar stats to the Rex, a beautiful design, animations, and an array of directional attacks at its disposal. It does also have its own rage mechanic, which it will enter once it takes too much damage. In this state, its damage output is increased for a short duration of time, which does also include a new attack in the form of a stomp to tail swipe to yeet creature into oblivion. It also has a secondary roar giving it a small healing buff, where it can heal small amounts of its health with its bite, and does come in a variety of different variants, including a Scourge variant and a Tech version, just to name a couple. The mod also adds a corrupted variant mini-boss which can be summoned from the player's inventory, boasting a 500,000 health pool and hitting like an absolute truck. It can be killed for a ton of tasty loot and some lovely costumes for your own Meraxes, including this animated skin if that tickles your fancy. Seeing the Meraxes rage at nighttime is a sight for sore eyes. Have you ever wondered what a Spino with the same stats and size of a Giga would look like? Well, look no further. This is the WAK Spinosaurus from Big Owl, which I was lucky enough to gain early access to. Speaking of WAK, they have 2 cluster PvP servers that wipe every month to keep your gaming experience fresh and enjoyable, with some incredible news like new weapons, leaderboards, cave mods, and of course the WAK Spinosaurus, which will release later this week for the PvP server starting on the 15th of August. If PvP isn't your cup of tea, then you can always join their PvE server cluster instead, which is a no-wipe server, so you will not lose any progress. If you're interested in joining any of these servers, be sure to join their Discord server, which you'll find in the description of the video. Moving back to the WAK Spino, it will be available to download for everyone after the 15th of August. And of course, it has an arsenal of deadly attacks, a standard bite attack, and a directional heavy attack that deals devastating damage, depending on which way you're facing the camera. When facing the camera forward, it will dish out a double claw swipe. That applies a debuff that can stack up to 20 times, and when maxed out, targets will take 50% more damage, while also reducing their saddle armor. When looking left or right, we'll perform some romper stompers, also dealing some big damage. And when facing the camera behind, we'll perform a tail swipe attack. Both the stomp and tail swipe attacks inflict a slow debuff to the target. It is a versatile traveling mount, boasting a fast swimming speed where it does not possess an oxygen stat, while also having the Dinosuchus Wrath mode to improve maneuverability. The WAK Spino is the perfect combination of Spino and Giga, so if you love either of those, then you'll love the WAK Spino. Up next is the Cockatrice from Wild Waghorn, which is said to be an upgrade to the Doedicurus. It is an exceptional stone harvester that has a 75% weight reduction for it and weight reduction on many other heavy resources. It has 2 melee attacks, a regular kick and a jump kick, with the jump kick dealing slightly more damage. When pressing the crouch key, it has a unique ability to petrify targets, which can be aimed directly at the target or used as an AoE attack affecting any targets in range. This will freeze targets in place for 8 seconds. Any petrified targets will take increased damage. It does also have the ability to take flight and glide for short distances. Not the best by any means, but it can jump mid-air to slightly extend the glide a little like the Yeeling. This does, however, drain its stamina very quickly. It does also have the unique ability where it can convert organic substances into non-spoilable ones. For example, converting chitin into cementing paste or organic polymer into hard polymer. The Cockatrice will no doubt be a very welcomed addition to your world. Up next, we have the Red Panda, which comes from Cyrus Creates, which of course will add this cute little guy to your world. Oh, look at that cute little face. If you love the Otter, then you're going to love the Red Panda, as they are a shoulder pet and are just as cute. Adding to this, they do come in 3 different variants, with their own set spawn locations. Once tamed, the Red Panda has an array of useful abilities. As it is a shoulder pet, it will give anything inside its inventory 50% weight reduction when perched on your shoulder. Adding to that, it also gives a massive weight reduction to any item placed inside its inventory. Another cool feature that you can do is when perched on your shoulder, you can access the wheel by pressing and holding R on PC, X on Xbox, or Square on PlayStation, and enable auto transfer. So let's just say you need to go out and harvest a quick bit of metal. The Red Panda will auto transfer resources from your inventory into its inventory without you having to do anything. It's a really cool feature. Who would have known a little panda would be so useful in hoarding resources? Standing next to or having one on your shoulder works the same as the Otter, massively increasing the player's hypo and hypothermic protection, which can also be improved by leveling their melee stat. Yes, you can equip them with high quality helmets for that much needed extra armor protection. And finally, when accessing its radial menu, it can be set into a sitting stance where it will go for a cheeky nap. This, however, is not just for cosmetic purposes and cuteness. Any nearby baby creatures will receive a small buff which will accelerate their growth, so the Red Panda is a nanny too. It really can do it all. Gryphons from Gryffpatar was the first Griffin mod available in ARK Survival Ascended, and it's still a great mod to try. It adds a variety of Griffins to your world, including the Mountain Griffin, which is the regular Griffin, the Arctic variant, which is a smaller variant that can only seat 1 rider, and also a Pygmy, which is a shoulder pet that can even carry more than one of the same artifact inside its inventory. The mod adds a workbench where you can saddle up your new Griffin species with a variety of majestic looking armor, giving them some much needed protection, where you now look and feel the part ready to dive into battle. Towering over most, we have the first large theropod on the list. The Diamantinasaurus from Nick BS2 is around the same size as the Bronto, a beast of burden coming in very handy for carrying heavy loads. Equipped with a platform saddle with 3 attachments, the caravan chest piece giving anything inside its inventory 50% weight reduction, the leggings which will passively produce med brews over time, and a helmet further improving weight reduction to a whopping 75%. Of course, you can build a mobile base on top if you choose to. Its regular stomp can harvest metal and stone in abundance from rocks. It also has a giant stomp attack that deals massive damage to anything that gets in its way. And when it isn't hoarding heavy loads around the map, it likes to go to beddy bye-byes. Oh, so cute. Up next, we have the Plateosaurus from Artsy Fae. It comes in 3 different variants: the regular variant, a scorched variant, and an aberration variant. They are common creatures and can be tamed relatively early in the game, having average stats across the board and a decent carry weight. A great sprinting speed with the ability to jump small distances, having 2 attacks at its disposal: a primary claw attack, which can be used while sprinting, and also a secondary head bash attack, which deals more damage but has a slower attack speed. This attack can also be used to efficiently gather berries and small amounts of wood and thatch. It can grab and pick up smaller creatures, which is pretty cool, and if you want to dish out more damage, you can with your weapons while mounted. It comes into its own with its utility. The saddle can be used as a portable mortar and pestle, and will naturally convert narco berries into fermented narco berries. These can be used as taming food for herbivores, being slightly better than medu berries, but not as good as Archelon algae. The mod adds an array of new consumables that can be crafted from the saddle, which you can force feed to your tamed creatures. The Herbivore Delight, once force fed, will grant herbivores the Justice buff, giving them 10 health regeneration per second, a 20% movement speed boost, a 20% extra damage output, and also a 25% damage resistance for the duration of 2 minutes. As of now, the next 5 consumables do only affect herbivores, but I'm pretty sure that will get changed over time. The Adrenaline Pet Brew, once force fed to creatures, will give 4 health per second, while also buffing the creature's weight, damage, and resistance by 20%. The Medical Pet Brew is a med brew for your tames, giving them health regeneration for 4 seconds and has a cooldown of 60 seconds. The Energy Brew works the exact same way but for stamina regeneration instead. The Speed Pet Brew, which once force fed, will boost a creature's speed by 25% for 80 seconds. And finally, we have the Baby Food, which can be force fed to any baby to increase imprinting by 30%. I'm not entirely sure, but it does seem like you can only use it once per creature. All of these reasons are why the Plateosaurus is one of my favorite new herbivore mods. The Sunken World additions from Snapping is a must-have mod for all those ocean dwellers out there. Ark's oceans feel so empty, and this mod aims to change that by giving the ocean so much more life. Adding a wide variety of tameable creatures including dinosaurs, fish, mammals, and reptiles, just to name a few. Also unique items and collectibles for you to enjoy. It makes the ocean worth exploring again. There is too many creatures to cover here in a video like this, but this is evidence of how extensive the mod is. It is by far the best mod that gives the ocean a much needed TLC. Up next, we have the Huskywolf from Kavaiden. I think it's safe to say that everybody loves the direwolf in ARK, and well, if you're looking for a larger, fluffier, and more powerful version of the wolf, then the Huskywolf is the perfect mod for you. Once saddled up, you'll own a beast like no other. Larger, faster, and stronger when compared to the vanilla direwolf, while also having stats comparable to a T-Rex, with the added bonus of being a comparable size to the direbear, making it a pretty handy caving mount. It's quite a lot larger than its direwolf cousins. The Huskywolf definitely appears to be a lot fluffier and actually has many more color regions as opposed to the regular wolf. You'll definitely be able to breed some beautiful colors into these beasts. They do share the same abilities as the vanilla direwolf, so pressing the crouch key will sniff out any nearby explorer notes. Also the wound sniffer passive, where the rider can see the approximate health of nearby targets, visible with a white cross. When below 50% health, a yellow cross, and gradually turn into red when very low on health, and will detect corpses with a white broken cross. And of course, very strong pack buffs with an alpha to lead the charge. However, the Huskywolf does seem to have 50% weight reduction for meat, hide, chitin, and pelt when inside its inventory. A giant pack of these Husky Wolves will shred through absolutely anything and everything, including bosses if you have a good breeding line. The Husky Wolf is everything that a direwolf fan could ever dream of. Up next, we have the Magna Gecko from Cyrus Creates. These cute little guys are stunning and come in a variety of dazzling colors, serving as a shoulder companion to have your back whenever you're out exploring, which of course means it will help you carry way more items with its improved weight reduction. Its tail can be dropped via its action wheel, or horribly cut off with a hatchet, which can be used to lure wild creatures. I don't like cutting off its tail, but it will grow back in a few minutes later, so it's forgiven and forgotten in no time at all. Diving into the Paleo mods from Up From the Depths and the Paleo ARK team, we have the Evolution Apex Predators, which will replace all vanilla Rex and Giga spawns with the Evo Rex and Evo Giga, both being completely reworked and overhauled with fresh new models, animations, attacks, and sounds. This is by far the best Rex and Giga mod on the market. Plus, if you ever wanted to uninstall the mod, you do have the option to convert them from vanilla to modded at any point, and vice versa via the radial menu. It is no surprise why this is one of the most popular and downloaded mods on the market market today. The next creature mod from the Paleo team is the native Aquatics, which so far adds 2 new species, the Cryptoclydus and the obelisk squid. We are focusing on the Cryptoclydus here as it is one of my favourite modded aquatic creatures in the game. Oh, look at that cute little face. They look amazing and are so much fun to use, and get a load of how pretty that aberrant variant looks. A great ocean exploration mount, boasting a relatively quick swimming speed, equipped with a regular bite attack and also a spin attack, which both deal the same amount of damage, able to jump out of the water, performing double kickflips if you feel like flexing your tricks. Speaking of tricks, they have plenty more up their sleeve. The Cryptoclydus is fully immune to the jellyfish stun and dismount, and when 2 organic oil is inside their inventory, they will passively produce Cryptoclydus gel. This can be used as fuel similar to angler gel, or once consumed by the player, or force-fed to any tamed creatures will give them immunity to the jellyfish stun and dismount for the duration of 5 minutes. They also always have their Veil passive active, which works similar to ghillie armor, reducing the aggro range of hostile creatures. There is also a charge bar for this, which can be filled up by killing the obelisk squid, and when full the group Veil ability can be used, which gives any nearby allies in range the same Veil effect for 60 seconds, and finally they can also gather silica pearls, the same way an anglerfish can. There are so many reasons why you need a Cryptoclydus in your life. And the third mod bundle from the Paleo ARK team is Evolution Dangerous Depths. Right now the pack includes what I like to call the king of the ocean, the formidable Mosasaurus. But there will be plenty more creatures to come in this pack later down the line. Once having the mod installed, you will only see the Evo Mosa, so they do fully replace the vanilla Mosa spawns. As always, the saddles from the Paleo mod are as beautiful as ever. Most importantly, when accessing your tamed Mosas, you will have the option to convert to and from the vanilla version, and vice versa whenever needed. The Evo Mosa is a great all-rounder when it comes to ocean exploration, having 2 swimming stances just like the Deinosuchus, where it can be locked to swimming above the water or switch to diving below the water. And of course it has an exceptional swimming speed, and does everything a vanilla Mosa can do but better. It can also move backwards in the water, which is something the vanilla Mosa cannot do. It is fully immune to the jellyfish stun and dismount, the Electrophora shock attack, but it is still vulnerable to the Tusotufus grapple attack. Another very cool passive it has is the Oceanic Apex. This passive will reduce the aggro radius to all wild smaller predators, and the best thing about having this mod installed is that it will also apply this passive to any tamed Shastasaurus or Tusotufus, which is definitely something the vanilla version should have. Anyway, back to the Mosa. They do seem to share roughly the same stats as the vanilla Mosa, but do have additional and deadlier attacks at their disposal, which makes them much stronger. A basic bite attack dealing some hefty damage, and also has a grab which can clamp down on a wide variety of creatures, but cannot pick up larger creatures like a Mosa or a Tuso. Once grabbed, the bite will dish out devastating damage to the target in its jaws. It also has a giant tail swipe attack, which deals average damage, but it dishes out massive knockback to even the largest of threats. And finally, potentially the coolest feature of the Evo Mosa is that it can breach onto the beach if you choose to. Of course, this does come at a cost, but the Mosa's torpor will rapidly increase. But a high level Mosa does have a lot of torpor, so if for some reason you do need to be on land for something, well, you'll probably have a few minutes before your Mosa goes sleepy time. There is no doubt that the Evo Mosa will be a game changer for all those Mosasaur lovers out there. Up next, we have the MSVV Skjaldastordr. Who knows how to pronounce this name? Because I definitely don't. This beautiful creature comes from Deckard. It shares roughly the same stats as the vanilla Anki and also the same attacks. The regular directional tail bash attack and also the secondary bite attack. However, it does deal slightly more damage, though unlike the vanilla Anki, it cannot move forward when using this attack. It does also have an additional lunge attack, which can be performed when pressing the crouch key, dealing much more damage than its regular attacks. It does, however, use a lot of stamina, but what makes this modded Anki so good is its harvesting capabilities. It does everything an Anki can do, but better. And my math isn't the best, but if my calculations are correct, it gives all resources that can be harvested from rocks a whopping 75% weight reduction, which includes crystal, obsidian, stone, and flint, just to name a few. Metal is of course still at 75% weight reduction, the same as what the vanilla Anki gives. Adding to this, it also gives its own unique harvesting levels, similar to the Moss Chops and the Ferrozino. Putting levels into a stat will improve the harvesting efficiency of that specific resource. It does also state that these harvesting levels further increase the weight reduction of resources, but it doesn't seem to work as intended. Either way, this will be the perfect companion for all your resource gathering needs. Big Owl's Carcha Rework, the small version from Big Owl, adds a more accurate, smaller version of the Carcharodontosaurus, and is my favourite Carcha mod out there today, where the stats and size are now more comparable to a Tyrannosaurus, with some changes to the model and animations. I wish the vanilla Carcha and Giga were around this size in the game, as I'm pretty sure that history has it down that all these dangerous predators were roughly around the same size. Its Blood Rage ability works similar to the vanilla, but it has been reworked to make it more balanced, and yes, it can now enter boss fights. The Dragon's Kingdom mod from Scorching Kami is probably the best dragon mod out there today, unleashing a new breed of dragon into your world, and I must admit, they look spectacular. They can glide and dive just like the Griffin, and depending on the size of dragon, can have passenger seats. The mod has its own unique and immersive upgrade system where dragons come in all shapes, sizes and tiers, tier 5 being the strongest and largest. Also having a unique taming method. When the time is right and one lands before you, await it to go sleepy time. This is where an extensive minigame begins, where you'll alternate between feeding it its preferred food, live tamed sheep, or even being totally turned down by the dragon itself. So it's not the easiest dragon to tame, that's for sure. However, if you can prevail, you'll own a beast like no other. Mora's Nothosaurus from Moranada is one of my favourite semi-aquatic modded creatures in the game. It is a fast and agile mount capable of quickly traversing land and sea. It absolutely loves electricity, and is equipped with an arsenal of attacks that revolve around it. It has a charged attack that can be charged up when attacking creatures or being attacked by creatures like the jellyfish or eels, for example. Charge it up and boom, baby, big damage. It can outmaneuver almost any threat in the ocean with its speed, agility, and ability to barrel roll at high speed. It can also scan for any nearby silica pearls and harvest them with its bite attack, making it a useful creature to own for many occasions. Next up is the formidable Tyrannodominator from Tristan. Tristan's mods are always of the highest quality, and the Tyrannodominator is no exception. It comes in a whopping 6 different variants, which all depends on the map you are playing, and includes a beautiful aberrant variant, an alpha variant, and also a boss variant, which can be summoned from your own inventory, offering the player a nice challenge, and some tasty loot if you do manage to kill it. And similar to other creature mods from Tristan, the Tyrannodominator has the ability to attach numerous armor pieces to its body, giving it extra armor protection, and depending on the piece of armor, small buffs to its damage output and damage resistance, etc, etc. It does have an array of different attacks, including a regular bite attack, a secondary claw attack which deals much less damage than the regular bite. It also has a deadly ranged attack, where it will dig its tail into the ground and yeet dirt all over the map. No doubt nowhere remotely close to the target you want to hit, but damn, it looks cool. It has not one but 2 types of roars. One is just a standard cosmetic roar, and the second is known as the explosive roar, and well, it does exactly what it says on the tin. Once used, will deal some hefty damage and some massive knockback to any targets in range, and also temporarily slows the targets too. It can also sit down like a puppy via its radial menu, where it receives a rapid regeneration buff for a whopping 2 minutes. Oh, how cute is that? The Paddletail Spino from Muttaburrasaurus is hands down, in my opinion, the best Spino mod out there, giving it a completely fresh and more accurate appearance, animations, and attacks. They roughly share the same stats as the vanilla Spino, however they do not possess an oxygen stat, meaning that more points can be distributed into more desirable stats like health and damage. Equipped with a regular bite attack, a secondary slap attack that deals slightly more damage and has a faster attack speed, and when selected via its radial menu, it can also gather fiber with this attack. Able to also perform on the spot direction bite attacks too, which deals slightly more damage than the primary bite. It can dish out a tail swipe attack that deals some damage and great knockback. If you want something to get out of your face, then this is the attack to use. This attack can also surprisingly harvest berries, thatch and wood when enabling fiber collection. Adding to this, it can pick up any creatures around the drag weight of 200, where it can carry or gore the creature mid-grasp, leaving the victim with a bleeding debuff. Its utility does not end there. It has the option to turn on thermal regulation. This will drain its food very quickly, but can be used to incubate fertilized eggs. It has a few passives too. When killing fish will increase its health and stamina regeneration. The hydro buff is pretty much the same as the hydrated buff of the vanilla Spino, where its movement speed and damage will increase. The Paddletail is an absolute beast when it comes to ocean exploration, being an exceptional swimmer, highly mobile, and able to use most of its attacks when submerged, while also able to dish out a new form of tail swipe attack, which is super fun to use. The Paddletail Spino is honestly a thing of beauty. The Sivatherium from Wild Waghorn was one of the first modded creatures introduced into ARK Survival Ascended, and is still one of my favourites out there today, making for a great traversal mount, having high weight and stamina stats, while having a few melee attacks to capably defend itself from threats, consisting of a primary headbutt and a back kick that slows targets for a short duration of time. It can also go into a shield stance where it takes 80% reduced damage, however it comes into its own as a scout, able to see clearly with its infrared vision, while also able to view creature stats similar to the awesome spyglass, and can also detect max level wild creatures just like a light pet can, which is visible at the bottom right corner of your screen. The Sivatherium will be your new best friend when scouting for creatures to tame. Marnii Griffins from Marnii Mods will add a new species of griffin soaring through your skies. If you are a fan of the griffin and the snow owl, then you'll love this as the mod combines the two. The first species being the owl griffin and the second being the royal owl griffin, which is a slightly larger variant, both looking absolutely stunning, especially the royal owl griffin. Look at those colours. Once saddled, they can be used as a portable smithy and share the same flight mechanics of the griffin, but do include their own sounds and animations. This is the Daemonis, which also comes from Tristan. It also comes in 6 different variants too, also including an alpha variant, and just like the Tyrannodominator from earlier in the video, a boss variant, which can be crafted and summoned from your own inventory, where you will be rewarded well for your efforts if you manage to kill it. With its speed, agility, and ability to jump great distances, we'll see you traversing all types of terrain with little to no problem, with a variety of attacks at its disposal: a regular bite attack, which is nothing special, a claw attack which deals less damage but can hit the target twice. But what I love most about its attacks is that it has a tail slap attack, which can be performed by facing the camera behind the Daemonis. So if something is attacking you from behind, you can slap him in the face a couple of times to let him know who's boss, and then you discover its ranged attacks, being one of few that can harness the power of fire, which can be held down continuously until its stamina drains. And it doesn't end there. Instead of spitting fire, it can spray and pray blood all over its victims. This attack works similarly to the Blood Crystal Wyvern's breath attack, draining a target's health over time. So it has its own Blood Rage ability, which when used it will perform a terrifying roar, which will give it 10% damage resistance, and also immunity to any bleed effects, for the duration of 60 seconds. How cool does that look though, man? The Daemonis will harvest blood packs every time it bites or consumes a carcass, where it can craft up a sanguine elixir from its inventory, just like the Desmodus. The elixir once on your hotbar while looking at a knocked out creature or passive tame will increase the taming bar by 30%. Also, when raising babies, it will instantly increase the imprint percentage by 30% upon consumption. It really is a game-changing item. It does also have the same sit option as the Tyrannodominator when accessing its radial menu, offering the rapid regeneration buff for 120 seconds. There is no doubt in my mind that the Daemonis will be a lovely addition to your world. The Meiolania from Ziphius is an interesting creature that kinda reminds me of a certain type of Pokemon. It's more of a lover than a fighter. That is until you equip one with its artillery saddle. Using mortar rockets for ammo, it can rain down a devastating mortar barrage upon its enemies, which could even destroy metal structures. Admittedly a highly expensive creature to use for this purpose, but I could see it being very fun to use on a PC unofficial PvP server. It can also bury itself into the ground where it will take reduced damage from incoming attacks. Up next is the Eocarcharia from Tristan, which is around the same size as the Allosaurus, sharing similar pack buffs and roughly around the same stats as one too. Basically it is the modded Allo, with many more attacks including a bite, a bash, a headbutt, and a tail swipe attack to take care of its enemies swiftly. The mod adds numerous armor pieces that can be equipped to different parts of its body, boosting its armor protection furthermore with each piece. A number of custom recipes can be crafted from its inventory that can be force fed to what I believe is any of your tamed creatures to give them temporary buffs. An alpha variant can also be hunted down and slain, where you can find higher quality saddle armor pieces. Well, I think it's safe to say that we as ARK players all love the Otter, and what better way to experience an Otter than riding a giant one into battle? This is the noble Otter from Eclipse Modding. Oh, so cute. As well as equipping them with a saddle, you can also equip them with high quality helmets for extra armor protection, giving them massive damage reduction, depending on the quality of the helmet. It can do pretty much everything the vanilla Otter can, giving the rider a massive insulation bonus, which also scales when leveling its melee damage stat, and can also hold more than one of the same artifact inside its inventory. Pretty awesome considering they can fit into all cave entrances. New abilities include harvesting silica pearls, while also having a 25% weight reduction for them. as well as many other ocean resources like oil, black pearls, and angler gel, just to name a few. An exceptional swimmer, able to swim faster than most, also receiving the hydrated buff when touching or submerged in water. Adding to that, it also receives the Argentavis rapid regeneration buff when biting or consuming a carcass. And you'll be glad to know it is immune to the jellyfish dismount. The otter will still get stunned, but the rider won't be dismounted. So it is packed full of abilities. Maybe too many if you ask me, but hey, a rideable otter is a rideable otter. Up next is the Muttaburrasaurus from Nick BS2, an extremely valuable herbivore you'll be wanting to get your hands on. It is more of a lover than a fighter, however, it does have access to 2 directional primary attacks. When facing forward, it will perform a headbutt, which is great for harvesting meats and hide, etc. And when facing the camera behind, will perform a tail bash attack, great for harvesting berries, both dealing average damage at best and small amounts of knockback to targets. It has the unique ability to mimic other species' roars. When pressing the crouch key, you can toggle through the aspects. The aspect of the self will give the Muttaburrasaurus small health regeneration, and when using the roar will give it a temporary camouflage for 60 seconds. Aspect of the raptor will give it 10% speed boost, and when roaring will give allies 20% speed, 10% stamina drain, and 2.5 stam regeneration. Aspect of the baryonyx grants it 10% swim speed and 20% less oxygen drain, and with the roar will give allies 20% swim speed, 40% less oxygen drain, and 2.5 stamina regeneration. Aspect of the stego will give it 5% damage resistance, and once roaring will give allies 10% damage resistance and a bit of health regeneration. Aspect of the mammoth gives it 10% weight reduction to anything inside the Muttaburrasaurus. Once roaring will give it a similar intimidation debuff as the mammoth, decreasing affected targets damage by 10%, which is also said to stack with the mammoth's debuff too. And finally, the aspect of the Rex, giving it 5% damage increase, and with the roar will buff allies damage by 10% and give them a small amount of health regeneration. You could scroll through these aspects using the roars to stack all effects, which is pretty crazy. And if that wasn't enough, they also have a pack bonus that goes up to a whopping +10, so they do have strength in numbers. The Muttaburrasaurus will be a great addition to aid you in rallying your troops in the thick of battle. The heavyweight champion enters the chat that is the Barsboldia from the real Jimmy Baguette. It is a powerful hadrosaur with an array of abilities and deadly attacks at its disposal, consisting of directional bash attacks and a giant Hulk smash romper stomper attack known as Viend is now. Proof is in the name, it is devastating. It can obtain a wide variety of buffs when consuming different types of berries, which does stack when force fed. Its offensive capabilities do not end there. Once you craft and don the Dark Edge medieval saddle, you can wield a cannon on its back, which may be a very expensive way to attack, but when it's this fun, who's really complaining? Not me. Up next is the Stygimoloch, which comes from Kavaiden, aka the Patchy's long-lost cousin. Once tamed, it can be saddled up at level 33, which does actually give it a 50 armor rating, giving it a shiny, sturdy metal helmet to protect its head, so they are basically a massive upgrade to the Patchy. As you can see, they look very similar. A great choice for your early game resource gathering needs, as it can efficiently gather stone, flint, and metal, and has massive weight reduction for all 3. Plus, unlike the Patchy, it can actually gather berries with its additional tailspin attack. And just like the vanilla Patchy, it does deal torpor inflicting attacks with its regular headbutt attack, but much more effectively with its charge. Admittedly, it will most likely kill smaller creatures, but with the right strategy, it will be able to aid you in knocking out a wide variety of creatures. It's also a lot of fun. The amount of utility the Stygimoloch offers, especially at the early game, is almost unmatched. I'm not typically a fan of bugs in ARK, but the Bombardier Beetle from Snapping is a great mod to try. Add in 3 different variants of Beetle to your world. The Bombardier Beetle equipped with a ranged mini explosive cannon, while also passively producing an organic substitute to gunpowder inside its inventory over time. Great if you love making bullets all day every day. The second variant is the Blaze Beetle. Its ranged attack comes in the form of a flamethrower. It will also produce its own organic substance inside its inventory, which is a substitute to propellant. And finally, the Blister Beetle, which will fart all over targets with corrosive acid, while also having a ranged attack that does the same. It will produce an organic substitute to congeal gas balls inside its inventory. All beetles can also fly. Well, kinda. This is the Zungaria, another awesome creature addition from Tristan and Dark Edge TV. A true representation of a powerful and intimidating herbivore that the majority of carnivores don't wish to tangle with. Quite evidently, it is a relative of the Sivatherium family. Once again, just like Tristan's other creatures featured in this video, it comes in a variety of different variants, which does include an aberrant variant and an alpha variant. And if you are wondering, they can be killed for a tasty bit of loot and XP, of course, including in high quality Zungariatherium saddles and blueprints. Once tamed, it does have access to a regular saddle which is unlocked at level 50 and also an armored saddle unlocked at level 60. When equipping the regular saddle, the Zungariatherium gives anything inside its inventory 50% weight reduction, so it can carry a lot of items for you. The armored saddle of course looks badass, offering a 55 armor rating as opposed to the typical 25 that the regular saddle offers, but does also hinder its base movement speed by 15%. As stated in the mod description, there will be a platform saddle coming in the future. As expected, it does have an array of different attacks, a regular frontal stomp when using the primary attack. The primary attack is directional, meaning it can perform a stomp with its back feet, and also a kick when facing the camera behind it, all of which deal decent base damage and knockback. When pressing the alternate attack button, it will perform a haymaker of an uppercut. This attack is great for harvesting a ton of berries and surprisingly fiber. Adding to that, it does also harvest meat from carcasses, but of course they will not eat meat because they are herbivores. It would be rude not to include a Romper Stomper Mega Stomp, which of course deals some hefty damage and knockback. It does however have a small cooldown to balance things out a little. The Zungariatherium is a natural tank, having a 15% damage reduction due to its thick skin, while also being fully immune to bleed effects. It has two passives that become active when it performs its taunt ability. Once used, this will provoke aggression from any nearby creatures and give it a small damage buff of 10%, both passives lasting for the duration of 2 minutes. It can go into a blocking stance. This will give it a massive 60% damage reduction on top of the already 15% thick skin passive. Going into this stance will quickly drain its stamina, and upon reaching 0 stam will exit the block stance. Not only are they great for tanking damage, but once again has the sit option to regenerate its health via its radial menu. Oh, how cute is that? He's out here chilling, catching a suntan. There is so much to love about the Zungariatherium. Our next entry is the Dracoteuthis from Myrmecolion, which is probably the freakiest looking creature I've ever seen in ARK, but that doesn't mean to say it isn't cool. Native to Aberration, however, I'm pretty certain it will spawn on other maps too. Once tamed, it does not require a saddle to ride and has its own natural armor protection. Charge light is its best friend, which is evident for the charge bar at the bottom of the screen. When mounted and enabling charge drain, it will drain charge from any nearby creatures that emit it. The most efficient method to gain charge is from tamed shoulder pets perched on your shoulder, as you can use this continuously at any point, draining 10% of the shoulder pet's charge. Once this charge bar reaches 50% or is in range of a charge light of your shoulder pet, its armor rating will convert from primitive to ascendant. In terms of attacks, it has a regular double slash attack which deals some hefty damage. It can grab small creatures while also attacking with the other claw, lifting the creature out of harm's way, which is really cool. But my favorite attack is the ranged charge projectile, dealing damage and temporarily stunning targets at the cost of a small chunk of charge light drainage. Speaking of charge, yes, it can take flight, slowly but surely. Flying does drain the charge bar relatively quickly, which definitely balances things out as it is a flyer at the end of the day. It does also have a rest option via its radial menu, which will allow it to regain any lost stamina. And finally, it has its own cosmetic roar, which once used nearby to any wild seekers will make them your ally, where they are able to fight for you. It's such a cool and unique creature, and dare I say it, it's an absolute beauty that feels so at home on Aberration. Up next is the beast that is the Megastotherium, which comes from Ziphius, which is a highly aggressive and powerful mammal. It's very fun to use, but it does also feel a bit like a less agile Phyla to me, but man, they are beautiful, look at that. And they also have such pretty colours. I would say they have similar stats to a T-Rex, so they are pretty tanky and deal a decent amount of damage, having a few directional attacks at its disposal, the regular bite when facing forward, dealing the most amount of damage, a claw attack when facing to the side, which has a much quicker attack speed but deals much less damage than the regular bite, and a pivot attack when attacking while facing behind, which doesn't ever seem to hit by the way, so that probably needs looking into a little. They do also have an alternate grab attack where it can pick up a wide variety of small to medium sized creatures in its jaws, and when using the attack button will crunch down on its prey, dealing some big boy damage. But the coolest thing about it is not its fighting capabilities, but its keen sense of smell. You can utilize this when holding the crouch key when mounted and selecting the option sniffing Griffin add nearby creatures to known smells. The Megastotherium will then sniff out any creatures in a nearby radius. If finding any new creatures, you will see a green text prompt at the top of your screen stating it has found a certain amount of new scents. After having a good sniff, you can go back into the radial menu where you can choose to search for any of those creatures in the nearby area, so it can come in very handy for finding any wild creatures that you want to tame. I absolutely love the concept of it. It's not perfect by any means, but it does have potential to be. Moro's indomitable duo from Moronada will add a hybrid of the Rex and Raptor to your world, inspired by the Indominus Rex and Raptor. They can be encountered and tamed in the wild or bred through extracting DNA taken from slain creatures, which you could do through using the many new structures and items that come with the mod. Immersing yourself in the world of genetics and evolution, both do not require a saddle to ride and have their own natural armor protection. And of course, both are equipped with an array of deadly attacks and special abilities. The detail, animations, and attacks of this duo are beautiful. These beasts surprisingly can enter boss fights. Sadly, I do think they are a little too overpowered, which leads me to shying away from ever using the mod myself. If you're looking for an absolute unit of a dino to obliterate everything in its path, then the Desolar Titan from Dragonheart 7998 could be the mod for you. Its strength rivals even the Giga and the Carcha. Depending on the map you are playing, they do come in a variety of variants. Once tamed, it has an array of deadly attacks at its disposal, a very strong primary bite attack, a Romper Stomper Stomp attack that deals more damage than the primary bite, and also a tail spin attack that deals some hefty damage too. And just like the Giga, it has its own rage mode, which unlike the Giga will not dismount the player. It will enter rage once it receives a substantial amount of damage, giving it 25% extra damage, damage resistance, and a 50% increase in movement speed for the duration of 30 seconds, turning it into a whole different beast. However, there is a downside to raging, where it will become exhausted, freezing in place and taking 75% increased damage, but only for a short period of time. The mod also adds its own alpha boss variant. The charm can be crafted from the player's inventory, and once consumed will spawn the alpha onto the map in your location, so be ready, as this boss is a force to be reckoned with, having 1.5 million health while hitting like an absolute truck. It can be killed for a bunch of tasty loot, most notably the Ascendant Bone Armor saddle, which is probably the coolest looking saddle I have ever seen in ARK. If you like your big bad theropods, you'll love the Desolar Titan. Diving into some reclamations from Amalgamaniac Gaming with the Ditetracerus. It appears to be a subspecies of trike, but it's not just a trike. Although sharing similar attacks and charge mechanics of the trike, it is far more maneuverable than one and has a faster sprint speed, plus also having a few tricks up its sleeve. One of its attacks consists of a stomp that creates a torpor-inducing cloud, which deals a lot of torpor to any creatures in the cloud. It can also create gland grenades from its inventory. These grenades are non-lethal, working similarly to the gas cloud, but are far more potent. Any knockout task will be no problem for the Ditetracerus. Up next is the Antrodemus from Tristan, a dinosaur slightly smaller than a Rex while sharing similar stats to the Allosaurus. Armor pieces can be equipped to numerous parts of its body, giving it a combined armor rating of 65, while also giving it small boost to its speed, damage and damage resistance, and of course make it look badass when fully kitted out. Adding to this, it also has two armor attachments, one that turns it into a portable mortar and pestle, and a weight attachment giving anything inside its inventory 30% weight reduction. It is equipped with a debuffed roar that can cause mate boosted and pack boosted creatures to flee, while also taking slightly more damage. Equipped with directional attacks, a regular bite when facing the camera forward, and a tail swipe when facing the camera behind it, and also a headbutt attack that inflicts the fractured debuff of the Deinosuchus. Not only is it a strong battle mount, but it can also heal itself when biting or consuming a carcass, just like the Argentavis. And speaking of healing, it does also have a sit option, allowing it to heal very quickly, making them a great dino for prolonged battles. Moving from land to sea, we have the Tyrannosaurus from Moronada, closely related to its mosasaur cousins in stats, but smaller in size and far more agile. Equipped with an array of different attacks which are visible on screen, including a venom bite with 3 different modes, generating ammo for each inside its inventory over time, the Trank venom bite being extremely useful for knocking out creatures. These can be upgraded via its radial menu with every level up it gains. Jumping out of the water will heal a good chunk of its health and is also super fun. The saddle also gives the rider breathable oxygen, and after a long day out performing tricks in the ocean, there's not many aquatic creatures that give you a thrill ride like the Tyrannosaurus. The Laelaps from Ice Crooked is an interesting reptile-like dinosaur. Let's talk about its raw ability first. Look at that tongue go. It is not just for cosmetic purposes though. This roar can be used to detect any nearby wild, tamed and enemy creatures or players, and to sniff out any nearby explorer notes. Having 2 attacks at its disposal, a regular bite attack and also a stomp, which causes some hefty knockback to targets. They can also jump ridiculous distances. The Laelaps definitely didn't skip leg day down at the gym. They also received the same rivalry buff of the Triceratops when nearby to large predators, which of course buff its health, damage and damage resistance by 10%. The mod also adds its own alpha variant, the Vintage Laelaps, which can be killed for a chance to net yourself a vintage costume for your own Laelaps, which once equipped pays homage to what I was told to be the 1933 Kong vs T-Rex scene, which is a very cool feature in itself. The jumping spider from Cyrus Creates is another gem of a critter, able to latch onto and scale almost any surface and terrain in the game, having a charge jump where it can even jump and cling to another surface across the other side of the map. It can switch between 2 different bite modes, one to slightly boost its damage output, and a torpor bite which when used in combination with its pounce, make for a great strategy to knock out creatures. There are a few different variants of spider, including the aberrant variant for example, that do have different attacks that replace the pounce. It's easy to see why the jumping spider is one of the most popular mods out there today. Arcology New Encounters from Dragonheart 7998 is hands down the best and expansive creature variant packs out there today, with almost every single vanilla creature receiving their own Arcology variant. It adds so much more life into the world of ARK, which is already filled with so much life. It also adds alpha variants for many vanilla creatures, and also rare world bosses, whether that be the Rhynian Napha, a giant rock that looks very suspicious. Oh wait! It's a giant rock golem boss. These bosses can be killed for some tasty loot, while some even drop in elements. The Giga boss quite possibly might be the scariest thing I've encountered in the game so far, living up to the mod's name of New Encounters. The Monolophosaurus from the Real Shadloss has been a fan favourite for a while now, originally created by Schmitto, but the mod was discontinued for some time. No idea what happened there, but there are currently 2 versions still present on the mod listings. I chose this one because it seems to be more up to date and will spawn on Ragnarok. The Monolophosaurus is an exceptional cave-in mount with great speed, agility and ability to jump. That comes in a few different variants, the regular variant, the cave variant, the scorched variant and the alpha variant, which can be killed for some tasty loot including high quality saddles and attachments. Speaking of, it does have unique attachments that can be equipped to the saddle. One that adds a shield that can protect the rider from projectiles and also toxic gas, the Island Swamp Cave being the perfect example of this. When killing bugs, it receives its own insect killer buff, but not half as strong as the Megatherium's version of the buff. If you're looking for a substitute of the Baryonyx, then the Monolophosaurus could be the answer. The Brachiosaurus from Garuga is a giant sauropod much larger than its Bronto cousins, and is meant to be coming to the base game as a vanilla creature at some point, but who knows when that'll be. Able to dish out some devastating attacks, including a giant stomp which will deal massive damage to any targets that get in its way. It can be set to one of 2 stances. Battle stance will increase the damage of its attacks, and harvesting stance increasing its harvesting yields. And just like the Diamantinasaurus, it can harvest stone and metal from rocks. It basically harvests anything and everything. And if that wasn't enough, it has its own debuffing roar. This can temporarily scare creatures up to the size of a Giga, so it is not one to be messed with. Moving to powerful sauropod to powerful theropod, we have the Acrocanthosaurus, which also comes from Garuga. Another dino that is planned to convert into a vanilla dino at some point in the future. Much larger than the Rex, but smaller than the Giga. And as expected, it has a variety of strong attacks that deal some hefty damage and knockback to even the largest of threats. It can go into shield stance where it can tank more damage, further increasing its adrenaline meter. Once full, will turn this aggression into sheer power, increasing its damage for a short period of time, making it a far more deadly killing machine. And the final mod from Tristan on this list is the Vectis Spinus, which is probably one of my favourites from him to date. A great all-terrain mount, whether that be navigating land or sea with a fast swimming speed and ability, while not possessing an oxygen stat. Having 2 different saddles to choose from, a regular saddle and an artillery saddle. Taking artillery shells as ammo, you'll be able to rain down a barrage upon your enemies, and oh man, it's a lot of fun. With an array of melee and ranged attacks at its disposal, including a water breath attack to fully define the phrase spray and pray. It also has a roar that can buff itself and any dinosaur from the Spinosaur family, for example the Baryonyx or the Spinosaurus, and just like many of Tristan's mods, it can also sit via the radial menu to regenerate its health much quicker. Appalachian Denizens from Kaluga is another great creature mod pack. Once again, too many to cover here, but it basically adds TLCs for many vanilla creatures. It adds slightly more accurate variants, giving them new appearances, sizes, stats, etc, etc. He has been consistently updating the mod and adding more and more creatures over time, and is probably one of my favourite creature mod packs out there today. And to close out the video, we have the Noxcalvosaurus from the Real Shadloss. A nocturnal predator, a little larger than a raptor but much stronger than one as a lone battle mount. With a fast sprinted speed, agility and ability to jump great distances, we'll see you traversing any terrain in no time at all. It can enter a crouch walking stance, which will reduce the aggro radius of nearby predators, working kinda like ghillie armor. It is a nocturnal predator similar to the Megalosaurus, where it will gain the Night Stalker buff at night time, increasing its damage by 50%, damage resistance by 10%, and an increase in movement speed. On top of that, it also gains slightly faster health regeneration and torpor drain. It is an exceptional harvester of pelt, hide, and organic polymer, while giving massive weight reduction for these resources too. The Noxcalvosaurus is one of my favorite modded creatures to use on Aberration. And that is going to be the end of the video for today, but not the end of the fun by any means, as I will be giving away a bunch of free codes to the new and exciting premium mod that is the Hydrovanta from Moranada, which is a giant alien-like stingray. So if you want a chance to win, be sure to join my Discord server, navigate to the server announcement section, and react to the post with a heart emoji. I'll announce the winners in a week or so after this video goes live. I am also currently running a giveaway for the new premium mod map, Lost City, so react to that one too with a heart emoji for a chance to potentially win both. Link will be in the description of the video. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed the video, and if you did, please don't forget to like, comment, share around, and subscribe for more, and I'll catch you on the next one. Take care, goodbye!